What made Frédéric Chopin a genius? There'll never be just one answer to that question, which is why in this video, I asked 23 pianists to each share a favorite moment from Chopin's music which they think reveals his genius. 2 centuries after Chopin revolutionized the piano forever, his legacy lives on in piano competitions around the world. With the summit of these events held in Warsaw every 5 years, the International Chopin Competition. If the Chopin Competition in Warsaw is the Olympics of classical piano, the National Chopin Competition in Miami is one of the most prestigious Olympic qualifying events, with the top 2 winners gaining automatic admission to the International Chopin Competition. But what is it about Chopin's genius that inspired this enduring dedication to memorizing and performing his music generation after generation? One way to find out is to ask the people who are most devoted to it. So I posed the question to the pianists entering the National Chopin Competition, which takes place January 4th through 12th. All 23 competitors were kind enough to take a break from practicing and do some Chopin show and tell. Each picked a passage from the competition programs they're preparing for Miami and shared what they find so distinctive and special about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Karina Tseng and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, although right now I currently live in Lugano, Switzerland. I remember playing Chopin's music since I was a kid, just starting piano. I worked on some of his waltzes and nocturnes, and I just got to grow up as a pianist and grow up as a person alongside his music. The little example of Chopin's genius that I'd like to highlight for you today is from his 23rd Prelude in F major. It's a little phantom melody fragment that I found. It's just 4 notes. And I'm pretty proud of it because I found it myself when I was just slow practicing one day. Even though I've heard people do it on recordings since then, I didn't technically steal it from recording myself. But in the score, it's actually written divided stem-wise and hand distribution-wise in 3 different voices that make up that 4-note sequence. So we get to wonder as interpreters if Chopin even intended it, and if we should bring it out. I have decided to bring it out, so I'll go ahead and play it for you right now.
Hello, my name is William Ge. I'm from Chester Springs, but right now I'm in our new music building in Andover, Massachusetts at school. My first memory of Chopin's music was when I was 6 years old, and I was playing my first Chopin piece, the L'Adieu Waltz, published posthumously as Opus 69, number 1. There's a particularly fond memory of mine from 2013 when I mixed it with Für Elise by Beethoven, playing 2 measures of Chopin and then 2 measures of Beethoven and proceeding through the 2 pieces like this. I think it's that early style of improvisation and freedom that really drew me to the piano, and in particular, those same freedoms in Chopin's music. Now, my moment of Chopin's genius comes from that same waltz. It's the first piece in my 2nd round program, and I think it's a really great example of Chopin's deep knowledge of technique as well as his artistic freedom in both pianism and composition. The left hand has a fairly simple chromatic descending chord progression going into a perfect authentic cadence that repeats twice. And the right hand is simply a singular line, but of course imbued with that operatic spirit that Chopin so dearly loved with Bellini. I think these notes by themselves are pretty normal. However, in Chopin's hands, they become something totally otherworldly.
Hello, everyone. My name is Antony Ratinov, and I'm a pianist living in New York City. I grew up in Maryland, where one of my earliest memories of Chopin's music was dancing to the waltzes as my grandmother played them on piano. And of course, she became my piano teacher, and I really remember falling in love with this music distinctly at the age of 4 and wanting to play it myself. And one of my favorite moments in Chopin's music is the ending of his second impromptu, which is already a very strange and complicated piece. And at the very end, Chopin brings back a chorale, which we heard near the beginning of the piece. And it's a very powerful moment. It draws attention to the extent of the journey that we have gone on throughout this piece with all the harmonies and musical sections. And it's one of my favorite moments. And I would like to play it for you all.
Hello, everyone. I'm William Yang, originally from Minnesota, but currently studying in New York. For me, Chopin's music is very special. I think even from a very young age, maybe 4 or 5 years old, I was constantly watching videos of Yoon Lee's performances at the 2000 Chopin competition in Warsaw. He was definitely one of my biggest inspirations throughout my childhood. There's a nocturne in A-flat major, opus 32, number 2. This set is one of the more rarely played ones. It's not as popular as, say, opus 9 or opus 15, but I think both of these nocturnes are very respectable in their own right. And the moment I wanted to share is in this second nocturne from the set in A-flat. He takes you through the exposition, which is the main theme, and the theme goes like this. So we have a soft rendition of it, and then we go through the middle section, which first we start off in F minor. And through a series of modulations, he leads you to F sharp minor. And of course, we start in an A flat major, so this is quite unusual. And at the end of this whole section, he finally brings us to a triumphant return of the main theme, but this time in fortissimo.
The National Chopin Competition is upon us, and I will be on location at the University of Miami January 4th through 12th, hosting the live streams of every round. You can watch all the pianists that you're meeting in this video perform their Chopin programs live on YouTube. So stop what you're doing right now and go make sure you're subscribed to the Chopin Foundation YouTube channel, where all performances will be broadcast and archived. And enable notifications so you don't miss a moment from the Miami competition. I'll see you on the Chopin Foundation channel. And now, back to our pianists.
Hi, everyone. My name is Madison Yan, and I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida. My earliest memory of Chopin's music was the first piece I ever played by Chopin, which was the Nocturne Opus Posthumus. Before I heard this piece, I didn't know piano music could be so beautiful. And when I first heard it, it was nothing like I had ever heard before. Even though I was only around 8 years old, I was so touched by this piece, and it really made me fall in love with Chopin, and also in love with the piano as well, because it was the first piece of piano that I really felt I connected with strongly. So there's so many genius moments in Chopin, it's impossible to decide. But I ended up choosing a moment from the second movement of the sonata in B flat minor. It's not the moment everyone may think of, but I still think it's a subtle yet poignant example of Chopin's harmonic genius. So in the middle section of this movement, Chopin writes a beautiful melody starting in G flat major. And then the same melody comes in B flat minor. And then there's a little interlude and the melody comes back in G flat. Etc. Now at this point, you may expect the music to go to B flat, as it did before. But Chopin does not do this. Instead, Chopin goes to a key in between the G flat and the B flat minor, and he chooses A flat minor. So from the G flat major he goes to A flat. This is such a beautiful yet subtle subversion of expectation because the G flat major is very warm and open sound. The B flat minor, although darker, I believe also sounds, has a sort of extrovertedness to it. But when that is contrasted with this unexpected A flat minor, the A flat minor is so subdued and intimate compared to the more warm G flat and the B flat minor. It's just such a beautiful color change. And Chopin's really playing with our expectations here. So I think it's a great example of Chopin's harmonic genius, although it's a subtle example.
Hi everyone, my name is Nathaniel Zhang. I'm from Folsom, California, and I currently live in Philly. The first time I ever heard Chopin's music, I was around 6 years old. I was in the waiting room before my lesson, and I heard one of the most charming, beautiful pieces ever. When it was finally my turn to have the lesson, I asked my teacher what it was, and she told me it was Chopin's A major prelude, opus 28, number 7. Right then and there, I told her that I wanted to learn it. At the time, my hands were so small, I could barely reach half the notes. I'm really happy that I can include this piece in my program for this year's competition. Another piece that I'm really excited to share in my program for the competition is the trio section from the Funeral March of Sonata No. 2. I think it's simply one of Chopin's most beautiful melodies. It's filled with simplicity yet profoundness.
Hello, my name is Matthew Liu, and I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. My earliest recollection of Chopin's music was listening to a CD of his nocturnes when I was just around 6 or 7 years old. And while there are many nocturnes I love, Opus 48, number 1 in C minor was my favorite. One of the most fascinating works, not just in Chopin's repertoire, but in all of classical music, was the fourth or presto movement of the second sonata. And unlike any other piece composed around this time, this piece had no clear melody and little harmonic and melodic tension. The movement is sort of like the murmuring or sometimes howling winds that sweep across the tombstone. Its intent, or at least my interpretation of it, is to reflect the atmosphere of which the first three movements have built. This movement proved not only how creative Chopin was, but how he was a visionary and a pioneer in music. Take a listen.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Wong. I currently reside and study in New York, and one of my earliest childhood memories of Chopin would probably be hearing his Waltz Opus 18 in the Tom and Jerry show. It used to be one of my favorite cartoons when I was a child. I'll be playing an excerpt from Polonaise Fantasy by Chopin. I think this is one of the moments that really showcases genius, and it's also one of my favorite works by the composer. I think this passage is really beautiful. It really shows his genius because of all the harmonic changes he makes. And they're so compact. Every single bar is a different harmony. And it really goes through so many emotions of lost, hope, nostalgia, joy. And so I think this passage really showcases the composer's brilliance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul G., and my hometown is Chicago, Illinois. My earliest memory of Chopin's music that I'm conscious of is when I was 6 years old, I think, hearing his Nocturne Opus 9, number 2. And at the time, my sister was playing this piece, and we were both listening to a lot of recordings online. One moment that I think reveals the genius of Chopin is the poco più lento section of the Polonaise Fantasy, Opus 61. It's such a transcendent feeling of longing. And if we just analyze the melody and the bass line, they're so simple in themselves. The melody is just two notes, but the way it's formed with that organic crescendo. And even though it's so simple, it undergoes a few changes, like it seems like every change carries its own slightly different sentiment. And the bass line is just a pentatonic scale. But the way it's formed, it seems like the place it turns, it changes direction, is just the perfect place. And together with the melody and this harmony change, it just seems like everything is so simple in themselves, but the genius of Chopin is demonstrated in that together he brings these elements together and creates this magical atmosphere.
My name is Lucas Shaw, and I come from Boston, Massachusetts. Probably my first experience with Chopin's music is hearing the Opus 9 No. 2 Nocturne played in a video game as a sort of Easter egg, and this really inspired me actually to begin learning the piano. So the passage I would like to discuss today is the D minor chromatic part of Chopin's Third Sonata, and it goes something like this. What I find very compelling about this passage is two things. First, on the musical and emotional level, I think that it has this profound and deep starkness that is really unique and something that drew me to the passage in the first place. The second thing is that it is just such an important element of the piece as a whole. I think that you hear a lot of, these sorts of chromatic shifts that kind of call back to it. And of course, this overall shape of this D minor passage is transfigured into the actual second theme of the sonata. So I think it is a really remarkable and interesting passage in this sonata that showcases Chopin's ingenuity.
Hello, my name is Timothy Jones. I'm a pianist from Austin, Texas. My earliest memory of Chopin was actually before I even considered touching a piano or a keyboard. I was very obsessed with the Titanic when I was about 5 years old, and my mom got me this Titanic video game. Anyways, in the beginning of the game, you're sort of in your apartment collecting items, getting a sense of the backstory of the character. And on the radio, while all of this is happening, is the Chopin Prelude, number 7, Opus 28. So on and so forth. And once I heard that, I was immediately sort of entranced. My mom had a digital keyboard upstairs with about 49 keys on it, and started tinkering around with that, and the rest is history. It's hard to pinpoint a genius moment from Chopin's work. It's really tricky because so much of it is genius. My current obsession, however, is from his third piano sonata, the first movement, specifically the end of the development section, transitioning into the recapitulation. So in the end of the development section, we're sort of existing in this E flat 7 sonority, kind of vamping on it almost. And we're expecting, or our ears expect to hear that harmony result to E flat major. However, it doesn't. Chopin sort of pulls the rug out from under us, and then undergoes about 4 or so bars of just total harmonic ambiguity and just like this delicious chromaticism that actually leads us to what is a really distant key, B major. So those two keys are very, very far apart. And he just does this so seamlessly and effortlessly. And we also get this really potent sense of abandonment, and it feels like we're lost, like we're in the dark trying to find our way, and then eventually we do find our way.
Hi, I'm Angeline Ma. I'm from Berwyn, Pennsylvania, and I study at Northwestern University. So most of the year I'm near Chicago, Illinois. As a pianist, it's really hard to disentangle exactly what my earliest memory with Chopin's music is, just because he's everywhere, he's so ubiquitous, and we're either playing or listening to him constantly. But one of the most distinct memories I have is of Arthur Rubinstein's compiled recordings of Chopin. And we had the CDs of this, so we would listen in the car all the time on the way to school or to lessons. And these really imprinted themselves upon me. And to this day, I still listen to them and reference them. So one of the works I'll be playing in the competition is the B Major Nocturne, Opus 62, number 1. It's such a hypnotic and enigmatic piece. And the main theme is quite simple, and it sounds like this. And what I think is so telling of Chopin's brilliance is actually the return of this theme. So it's entirely in trills. And that trill allows us as pianists to do something that we usually cannot do, which is to control the sustain of a note and to be able to phrase within an individual note past the initial attack. And the effect is very vocal. It sounds like a singer's vibrato. You can hear how the trill allows us to emphasize still the main notes of the melody and of the theme, but at the same time, it gives it such a trance-like, elusive sound and something that seems to transcend the physical limitations of the instrument.
Hello, my name is Antoni Kleczek. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Vienna, Virginia, which is just outside Washington, D.C. Really, first, I think, true encounter I had with Chopin's music was 5 years ago when Dr. Lovazovic assigned me the Nocturne Opus 9 number 3. I also think that in this piece, one of the major characteristics that make Chopin a genius is present, which is how he takes intricate, nuanced, complex harmonies, melodies, little inner melodies, and he combines it into a beautiful whole, which the listener, when they hear the piece performed, doesn't even notice it. It's just so natural. So in the first phrase, even of the Nocturne, Opus 9 number 3 in B major, we have in the right hand these microphrases. And then this long phrase at the very end. And in the left hand, he establishes this rhythm, which accents the second and fifth beats of each measure and creates a little inner melody. And then he breaks this here. Makes this sweeping ending. So if we hear the whole thing. So really, this is what I think makes Chopin a true genius.
Hi, my name is Emily Wu, and I'm from Rowland Heights, California. My first memory of Chopin's music was during junior high school when I first heard the 4 ballades played by my own teacher in a concert, and I remember being so mesmerized by the expressive and narrative capacities of Chopin's musical language. After that, my parents often played Zimmerman's recordings of the 4 ballades during car rides, and I really enjoyed listening through them. When Chopin first used the title ballade for his piano pieces, he created a new genre that aimed at channeling its expressive and dramatic feelings towards narrative ends. The ballades highlight the thematic process, using variations and transformation techniques to describe the adventures of the thieves. Chopin told Schumann during a visit to him in Leipzig that his ballades are inspired by 4 poems of Mickiewicz, and the 3rd ballade is based on the poem Undine. It symbolizes the tragic consequences of unattainable love and broken promises. This passage I'm about to play especially speaks to me because of how he uses a graceful manner to describe the ebb and flow of the intensity.
My name is Oliver Moore, and I currently live in San Francisco, California. One of my earliest memories of Chopin's music was hearing one of my first teachers play the Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2 for me in a lesson. I remember falling in love with the piece. One of my favorite pieces by Chopin is the Octave Etude Opus 25 No. 10, and one of my favorite moments in this piece is the transition from the first section into the second section. In the first section, Chopin gives us a torrential hurricane of octaves that ends in this huge demonic outburst. There's a silence, and out of the silence comes one of the most beautiful melodies that Chopin wrote. It sounds like it could be right out of a Bellini opera or one of Chopin's own nocturnes, and this section provides so much release after the huge amount of tension that Chopin built up just before.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Gabrilovich. I live in Pennsylvania, and my earliest memory of Chopin is when I was 7 years old and I played his waltz in A minor. One of my selections for this competition is the 24 Preludes, and one of my favorite preludes is number 13, which is in F sharp major. This prelude is very dreamy and is a great example of Chopin's lyricism. My favorite part in this prelude is the middle section, which is the più lenta section, and it's my favorite because there's a beautiful harmonic transition that happens. The section starts in D sharp minor and then modulates into C sharp major and then unexpectedly changes to C sharp minor. This change is very beautiful and very sensitive, and it has a lot of emotion. This is a great example of Chopin's genius and also shows how Chopin can masterfully highlight different emotions through harmonic and tonal change.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Hyungdo Kim. I am currently based in New York City, and I'm very much looking forward to being in Miami. My earliest memory of hearing Chopin's music is from when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and it's from the CD recording of Chopin's Complete Polonaises performed by Polini.
Hi, my name is Natasha Wu. I'm currently living in Boston. I remember first time hearing Chopin's music when I was a little kid before bedtime. The melody was mesmerizing, and it made me wonder who could have made such a beautiful music. Then my mom told me that the composer was Chopin, who happens to be her favorite composer too. And then I have been falling in love with Chopin's music ever since. What I like about Chopin's music is that a simple sentence could mean a beautiful melody. For instance, in his impromptu Opus 51 number 3, in the middle section, Cantilena shows Chopin's genius moment and the most beautiful part for me in this piece. Chopin wrote the left hand as the melody with a very simple line, and I could imagine that he wrote it for the cello, not for the piano or the singers. Also, there's a big contrast between the beginning and the middle section. So in the beginning, the melodies and the phrases are more complex, and both hands play together. The phrases goes up and down. But in the middle section, there's only left hand as the melody with the very simple descending scale, and the right hand serves as the accompaniment.
Hello, I'm Raul Canosa, and I live in Irving, Texas. My earliest memory of Chopin music is actually this very magical, should I say, electrifying beginning. And the thing I love the most about Chopin music is that he wrote these perfect pieces of music. You wouldn't dare to change a note. But the truth is, Chopin is probably laughing at us because he wrote over and over again the same thing in his most famous nocturne. But actually, each time he will play it differently, improvising something like this. He wrote some of those embellishments in the copies of his students who couldn't figure out something on their own. So I would like to inform the jury that if they happen to hear any kind of wrong note in my playing, it's probably nothing else than an improvised embellishment, hopefully in the style of Chopin.
Hello, my name is Eddison Chen, and I am from Overland Park, Kansas. My earliest memory of Chopin was probably when I was 5 or 6, and I was listening to YouTube recordings. And the Nocturne Opus 9 number 2 was always on my playlist. A moment that I think showcases Chopin's genius on my repertoire would be from Chopin's Ballade number 4. Here, Chopin overlays previous themes with a brand new accompaniment, and I think the harmony and all of that is just really satisfying to listen to.
Hi, my name is Megumi Maekawa. I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado, and currently living in Tokyo, Japan. My earliest memory of Chopin's music is my teacher playing Fantasy Impromptu for me when I was 9 years old. I can still recall the shock and amazement at the beauty of what I was hearing. One of my favorite works by Chopin is the Fourth Ballade. Today, I would like to share my love for this piece and, in particular, the remarkable section where the second theme returns in D-flat major. When we first hear the second theme in B-flat major, the nature of music is really soft and gentle, but here, the music really grows and it reaches an ecstatic peak. The emotion and passion expressed through this passage is incredible, and to my mind, one of the greatest musical moments of all time.
Hello, my name is Aleks Shameti. I'm from Tirana, Albania, but I currently live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. One of my earliest memories with Chopin's music is trying to listen to all of his nocturnes on YouTube in my childhood home in Albania, and then deciding that I really wanted to play Opus 9 number 2, of course. Today, I would like to talk about Chopin's Waltz, Opus 42 in A-flat major. I think this piece shows Chopin's genius in that it is completely original. The main theme is in a 2 against 3. This already defies kind of the genre of the waltz in that we're expecting something to be in a 3 pattern. And this isn't a 3 pattern, but the 2 kind of goes against that and in a way makes the melody really stand out. Another thing that I really love about this piece is the coda. And this is where Chopin brings back this idea of 2 against 3 and really hammers it in and makes it fun. And it's like such an exciting way to end the piece. And one of my favorite measures, which I think truly portrays Chopin's genius to us, is the penultimate measure, where it's just one measure, but in this idea where you can't tell if it's in 2 or 3, this idea really encapsulates the whole piece. And it's so genius that he managed to find one measure's worth of music that just describes everything that happened before it. And this is the coda of the waltz.
Hello, my name is Angie Zhang, and I am from the Garden State, New Jersey. I currently split my time between Los Angeles and New York City. My earliest memory of Chopin would be listening to his E minor concerto with my parents. There was just a lot of music in the house, and I think my mom saw that I was really into it, and then my dad joked with me and said that he composed it. So I think I just fell in love with it even more. I think a genius moment in Chopin would be from his preludes, this one. And I think it's genius because he's really able to depict wonder or awe. And for me, it's really important as an artist to always be amazed at what I'm playing. somehow Chopin was able to not only think of it or talk about it, but put it into music through his harmonies, through the rhythm, through all these modulations. It's like going into a candy store and being in awe of every single candy. You just want to pick it up and try it. And so I think that's what he's doing here. You never stay in one place for longer than a few seconds, if that. And I just think it's so important as human beings to continually develop the capability to wonder.